Am I overreacting? I kicked my sister-in-law out of my house, and she's not welcome back. You all might leave this post thinking I'm an a-hole, and that's okay. To start at the beginning, my younger brother, sister-in-law, and her 3-year-old have been staying with me for a couple of weeks. Their house is under major repairs after a water leak. Think no windows, gutted walls, water turned off so no bathrooms or kitchen. It's bad, and I truly do feel awful for them and their little one. When my brother asked if they could stay with me, probably for about a month, I reluctantly agreed. I love my brother, but I live a peaceful life of books, music, walks and playtime with my dogs, personal space, and a lot of quiet, reflective time to myself to do whatever suits me. And I am not at all a kid person. I honestly can't stand kids, but it was only for a month, and it's my brother. Then it all went south very quickly. I have dogs. Now, I'm not a perfect dog owner for sure, but they don't bark. They don't jump. They've been trained to greet people by sitting and waiting for a pat on the head. Most of the time, they lay out on a sun deck and just snooze. Or I take them out to the yard and we play ball. I clean up after their potty breaks, in the yard or out walking or hiking. They're gated out of the kitchen and dining room at mealtimes because, well, dogs don't really belong where people are eating. But they don't mind. They don't bark or storm the gate. They just go lay down, as they have been taught to do. But they're dogs. They like to play and be close to people. And they, of course, have hair. Sister-in-law could not cope, and every day was endless complaints, tears, tirades, and tantrums, with her basically begging me to lock my dogs up while she and her kid, not my brother's kid, were there. Screaming at my dogs, stomping her feet like a literal child, and yelling at my brother about the dogs, hair, toys, food, literally anything. Letting her child eat in my living room, which sent me cringing and reeling in my brain going, oh my God, please don't touch anything. But I said nothing, trying to be patient. He's just a little kid, and despite my feelings towards kids, they don't deserve to be mistreated. I would never. Especially at an age where they are so impressionable and don't understand why adults can be unkind. To be fair, I eat in my living room occasionally, pizza and movie night or whatever, but I'm not a 3-year-old with dirty hands and zero boundaries, respect, or appreciation for other people's things, or how messy peanut butter and jelly can be. It wasn't just the eating on my couch. Kids do a lot of kid things that made me cringe every day. And the smell. Oh my God, why do they smell? What even is that smell? And crying and listening to cartoons so loud I can hear it in my office over music. Or having to be the bad guy in my own home before Teams or Zoom meetings when I'd ask for my own house to be quiet. Not that we didn't have a few fun chats with a 3-year-old or laughs. We totally did. And I tried to be as kind and patient as I could be. Then it happened. The moment that literally changed everything for me. And I could not stand having this woman and her child in my house any longer. I was in my office, getting some work done for the morning. My dogs were playing in the living room. I could hear them but thought nothing of it. They play all the time. The kid was also in the living room watching something annoying and way too loud on the TV. I don't know where sister-in-law was, honestly. Folding their laundry, I think. My brother was at work. I hear a thump and a blood-curdling toddler scream, the kind that reminds me why I can't stand kids. Literal ear-piercing natural birth control for me and total sensory hell. Every nerve in my body just wants to. I don't even have words for the way this sound makes me feel. And my sister-in-law screaming, then the sound of scattering paws on the wood floor. The dogs are running toward my office. I open the door and step out to see her chasing them down the hallway, trying to kick and hit them. With her kid in one arm, she's swinging her free arm at my dogs and randomly trying to kick them, tears just running down her face. My dogs have never been kicked at like that or hit, at least not in the 8 and 10 years that they've been with me since I adopted them. And my dogs live here. She does not. I'd had enough. I put the dogs away in their beds in my office with a treat and went back out to the hallway and told her to pack. Get out. You're done here. Her response was to ask me if I was joking and complain that my dogs knocked her kid off the couch. I felt a little bad. I asked her kid if anything was broken or bleeding, the response I would have gotten from my parents if I had screamed loud enough to break glass as a child. No, nothing was bleeding and nothing was broken. Okay, so you're fine. Stop screaming. I followed her through the whole house, making sure she packed everything. She asked if she could stay until my brother got off work, even though she was already texting him, making me the bad guy, I'm sure. I told her no, take your bags and your child and get out. Then I felt a little bad. It's only like 10 degrees in our state right now, so I let them sit in the kitchen behind the baby gate until my brother could come get them. He left work early, thankfully. Now my brother is pissed at me for kicking them out, and at his wife because now he has to pay for a place for them to stay, and he's the only one who works. She's trying to victimize herself by saying that the dogs attacked her child, and that I'm an awful, family-hating old mean bitch. She tried to garner sympathy from my parents, who also told her off, and my other sister and brother-in-law, who already think she's crazy and a freeloader. My older brother was going to let them stay there until he found out what she did and then posted in the family group chat that he had changed his mind because he doesn't want her to kick his dogs. But according to her and my younger brother, I freaked out, overreacted, and threw my family out in favor of my dogs. Now for the top comments. Not overreacting. There is no excuse for animal abuse. Hitting and kicking a dog that is running away from you is despicable. That's what really set me off. Her chasing my dogs who are trying to do nothing but get away from her while she's screaming and swinging and kicking at them. Also, this wasn't a tap on the nose. She went after those dogs to try to cause pain. Also, if she was so concerned about safety, then don't chase dogs with your child in your arms. You don't have to feel guilty, nor did you overreact. Everyone in your family thinks she's wrong. Not overreacting. I was literally cheering you on as I read the kicking out part. She is a rude and an entitled witch. My dogs are my family, and no one will hurt them for any reason. Not gonna lie, kicking her out in that moment felt really good. It was only after that I kind of started to wonder if I might have gone too far and overreacted. Her and my brother's gaslighting and playing the victim just got to me, I think. Not so much her, but I do really love my brother, and despite her, we are really close. Not overreacting, and the kid fell off the couch because she didn't bother supervising him. She's a crappy parent, an even crappier guest and animal abuser. I learned very quickly, like within the first couple days of them being in my home, that she does not watch that kid at all. She puts it in front of a TV or gives it a toy and goes off to fold laundry or take a shower or just sits and scrolls on her phone. My brother gets off work and she instantly hands the kid off to him because she's had him all day. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to support my ex-friend through a miscarriage? I used to have a friend, Mandy. Mandy and I were friends in school. We were pretty close. Our friendship ended when, shortly after the death of his wife, Mandy started dating my brother Eric, and later married him. No, they weren't having an affair. They'd met maybe twice, once being at my wedding. Over the years, we were friends. They found each other on a dating app. I do believe that. Eric was deeply in love with his late wife. I don't believe he'd ever cheat on her. But he was devastated by her death, and just didn't process his grief and started dating really quickly to fill the void. A terrible decision. Really bad choice as a father. I told Mandy all this when she revealed they'd been seeing each other, but she didn't listen. I called her sick for dating a grieving father with grieving young children and refused to have anything to do with her. She married him a year later. Fast forward 5 years. My nibblings hate her. I hate her and my brother, and my parents tolerate her so they can still see their grandkids. The family relationships never really recovered. Over the Christmas period, Mandy and Eric announced that she was pregnant. All hell broke loose at my dinner table, and the kids ended up staying at my place through New Year's. Last week, Eric asked me to take the kids for the weekend, as Mandy was going through a miscarriage. He made it sound as though it was stress-related, but personally, I feel like this was just to make everyone feel guilty for not being excited for them. I said of course I could have the kids. I love those children deeply and have taken on a motherly aunt role for them since they refused to be taken care of by Mandy and was ready to hang up. Then Eric asked if I would consider reaching out to Mandy, as she could really use an ally right now. I told him Mandy wasn't my friend nor my family, and I didn't like her. So no. Eric said that wasn't fair. What Mandy was going through was traumatic and she needed someone who could understand. I had a miscarriage a couple of years ago. I told him there was nothing about Mandy I could understand. She was an emotional vampire who trampled over grieving children, so she could secure herself a husband just as greedy and selfish as she was. And I wasn't going to pretend the stress she was dealing with wasn't the cost of what she did. I guess Eric's phone volume was pretty loud because I could hear Mandy start wailing in the background. Eric called me evil and hung up. I wouldn't wish a miscarriage on anyone. I really wouldn't. And I never wished one on Mandy. But her going through something horrific doesn't change the fact that I think she's a crappy person. I don't have anything kind to say to her, and reaching out would be disingenuous, so I'm not doing it. But my mom thinks I'm a giant a-hole for refusing to offer support. She agrees with not rekindling the friendship, but said I should probably have shown some kind of support just as someone who would have been an aunt to their baby. To me, these people haven't really been in my life in 6 years. Why would I ride in now just over this, even though I still can't stand them? Am I the a-hole here? Should I have just let my feelings go because Mandy asked for support? Edit to add context of the issues I have with the way Mandy and Eric treat his children. The way she treats his kids is what's missing from the story. Firstly, she had absolutely no respect or patience for the fact that they were grieving. She moved in within 6 months of their mother's death, removed all her personal effects from the house, and took over parenting these kids she barely knew. She had zero compassion for their acting out. The youngest child was 6 when their mom passed, and Mandy would get upset when she had tantrums saying she wanted her mom. She's consistently pushed herself into the kids' lives when they don't want her there, volunteering at their school events, calling them her kids when they've asked her not to, calling herself their mom. She told Eric they don't need therapy because they're too young to benefit from it, because they barely remember their mother anyway. She refused to buy my niece new clothes for nearly 6 months because my niece didn't want to go shopping for the clothes with her. And through all of this, my spineless, selfish brother just let her run the show because he never wanted to learn how to be a single parent. He's not innocent, but she isn't either. Those kids are miserable, and neither of them care. Edit 2. Because people seem to think I'm ignorant to Eric being the main problem here, I'm not, and I never have been. I have given him more grief for what he did than I ever gave Mandy. He's the parent. It was his job to look after his kids, and he didn't. I can honestly say I haven't liked who he's become since his wife's death, and I think he's a bad parent. I don't have a relationship with him beyond coordinating seeing the kids because of how disturbed I am by his behavior. I absolutely know that most of the blame lies with him. I just don't see Mandy as a victim either, and she is the person who wants to benefit from my support here because of our past friendship. That's why this story is mainly about her. But yes, I am aware Eric is mainly to blame for messing up with his children. Your brother had a new woman in his home 6 months after their mother passed away? What the actual hell? That was my reaction. And she got rid of her stuff too? I remember reading a story about a widower who started dating years later, and the girlfriend planned a surprise family picnic on the deceased wife's birthday to her grave, where they got to eat the mom's favorite food and share the family's favorite memories about her. That girlfriend made the deceased an active part of the family's life. This whole throwing out the deceased stuff is infuriating. My mom thinks I'm a giant a-hole for refusing to offer support. Nobody's stopping her from calling Mandy herself. I always hate when people get mad at you for refusing to do something that they should really be doing themselves. And why on earth would OP be any sort of anything to the child of someone she loathes? Last story. Am I the a-hole for going no contact with my dad after he refused to come to my wedding? I, 27 female, am getting married this coming May. Everyone in my family has RSVP'd to the wedding except my dad. For some background, my parents divorced about 13 years ago after 22 years of marriage. My dad later married the woman he had an affair with, an actual freaking Karen. Over the years, my sister and I were basically forced to tolerate Karen just to maintain a relationship with our dad. She constantly made passive-aggressive comments toward us and our mom, and my dad never corrected her. Instead, he always defended her and punished us if we pushed back. cutting off our phones, refusing to help with school expenses, etc. So we learned to just endure her to keep the peace. It's also important to note that, unbeknownst to Karen, my parents remained friends after the divorce. Fast forward to February 2025. My fiancé and I hosted a housewarming party after moving into our new place. We invited close friends and family, including my mom and her fiancé, and my dad and his parasite. As soon as my dad and Karen arrived, I felt a wave of anxiety because, 1, they were already drunk, and 2, this was only the second time my mom and Karen had ever been in the same space. Things were okay at first, until they weren't. I had spent hours cooking. We gave guests thank you gifts for traveling, and overall, we really tried to make everyone feel welcome. Karen complained about everything. She even went around telling our friends how uncomfortable she was because no one liked her. The situation finally blew up when I was sharing a group hug with my parents. Karen, loud and drunk, came over and put her hands on my mother. I tried to de-escalate, but the night ended with guests physically holding back me, my mom, and my sister while Karen was pushed out the door. After that incident, I told my dad that I was no longer willing to be cordial with Karen because of what happened, but that I hoped he'd understand and not let it affect our relationship. Spoiler, it did. I spoke to my dad only 4 times in all of 2025 after that. I even flew home and invited him out twice, once to dinner and once to his sister's house, and he flaked both times. Sending him my wedding invitation was the final olive branch I was willing to extend. Karen was not invited. When he didn't respond, my fiancé called him. My dad said that if his wife wasn't invited, he wasn't coming either. He said he was tired of dealing with this petty dumb crap and wouldn't be attending the wedding. After hearing that, I sent my dad one final message and decided to go no contact. I told him he didn't need to worry about our relationship anymore because I was done. I also told him I hoped this marriage didn't fail like his last one, because if it did, he'd be alone, since he's allowed Karen to sever his relationships with his best friend, his sister, and his daughters. I ended with a PS, letting him know that she's already complaining to his family and plotting her exit. So, am I the a-hole? My dad did exactly this when I invited him to my wedding. It hurt that he wouldn't give me a day of his time. I was his family for decades, before his parasite entered the picture. Remembering every time he told me how much I meant to him just resalts the wound. I'm proud of you for setting a boundary and looking out for your psychological well-being. We can both be better than our fathers. Congratulations on getting married, and I hope all of your best years are still ahead of you. Not the a-hole, obviously. Thank you so much. He does the same thing. The last time we spoke, he said nothing but death could separate us, but here he is. Not the a-hole. Good job setting boundaries. He failed you when you were little. You will never get him to love you more than he loves making his own life comfortable. It took me too long to figure that out, but better late than never.